Now, I usually shy away from politics in my videos because making a political video is the equivalent of banging my head up against a giant wall of vanilla pudding. It doesn't really hurt me, but it seems a bit pointless and quite messy. Instead, I am content to be the fat, neurotic jackass in a cowboy hat and bowling shirt sitting in front of a wall of RAM making some, quite frankly, disturbing wisecracks. 99% of the comments I get are people cracking up laughing at the linguistic fruits of my depraved mind. It has served the attention whore bloated with self-importance in me quite well. Now, however, I'm afraid that the idealistic, intellectual snob that was stuffed in the steamer trunk of personas of my youth has now broken out and wants him some YouTube. It was the political video maker called Liberal Viewer in his video called "Is It Just Corporate Free Speech?" that sprung the grunge band fan from his prison. It was with absolute jaw-dropping and underwear-soiling shock that I watched Liberal Viewer fall victim to such mind-bogglingly shallow thinking. This is, of course, referring to the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission, which gave corporations and other legal entities the right to spend as much money as they want on political speech. Liberal Viewer agrees with this decision, and he goes on to explain his reasons why, but his reasoning is so shallow that I have to wonder if he spent so much time watching Fox News for the purposes of exposing it as a propaganda network that some of the poisonous vitriol has infiltrated his otherwise critically thinking brain. The first thing that Liberal Viewer does is try to dispel the concept of corporate personhood by listing a few of the things that corporations can't do, but people can. He says that corporations can't get married. Sure they can. It's called a merger, and instead of creating a nice, cozy American family, it creates a great, big, giant corporate monster that's capable of doing whatever the hell they want at anyone's expense. He says corporations can't be murdered. Again, not true. A corporation can be murdered. It just takes another corporation to do it, just like Walmart suffocated countless small businesses in the communities they moved into. Then the real strange part of what Liberal Viewer said was that people have free speech as well as associations of people have free speech, and corporations are just associations of people. According to an article, which you can see at tinyurl/IBM headcount, IBM finished 2009 with 115,000 employees. Of those 115,000 people, how many of them do you suppose actually make the decision as to what IBM as a corporation is going to say politically? While I don't know the exact answer to this question, I will hazard a guess that IBM operates much the same way as the Fortune 500 company that I work for does, as in that people at the top who are in charge of what the corporation says politically don't give a sugar-coated rat's ass as to what the rest of the people who work for their companies think it should say politically. In the case of IBM, it's probably on the order of 100 people or less that decide what IBM says politically. And corporations are not democracies. They are authoritarian dictatorships. Free speech, freedom of expression, even personal liberty are severely restricted within the walls of the corporation. It's not like when IBM speaks, it's representing the collective opinions of 115,000 people. In fact, it only represents what is best for the corporation, which may or may not be what is best for those people, the communities in which they reside, the nation, and the world as a whole. The next thing Liberal Viewer does is to throw down the straw man argument that is sure to become the hallmark of this discussion, and that is corporations simply won't get involved in controversial political issues. He even tries to back up his position by showing how Jon Stewart on The Daily Show even has the same opinion and references the E-Trade parody commercial that The Daily Show did. The point of this argument is that there is nothing to worry about because corporations won't want to get their hands dirty in controversial social issues. Well, you're absolutely right there, Liberal Viewer. We aren't going to see advertisements paid for by corporations advocating anti-choice, anti-gay marriage, or any other social position that might anger some of their paying customers. In fact, we're not even going to see corporations paying for political ads encouraging us to vote for one candidate or discouraging us to vote for another. No, the corporation isn't going to get into politics at all, at least not directly. The official position of every corporation is going to be completely neutral when it comes to politics, just like it always has been. The real danger in this ruling comes from the fact that public advocacy groups and trade associations can now spend unlimited amounts of money on political speech. And just where do you think the U.S. Chamber of Congress gets the unlimited amount of money that it can now spend on political speech? Bake sales? No, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce can now spend unlimited amounts of money from their corporate members who actually have virtually unlimited amounts of money. They can spend this money getting candidates like James Inhofe of Oklahoma, who insists that there's no such thing as global warming and net neutrality will destroy the nation, elected to positions of making laws that govern the very corporations that got them elected in the first place. It doesn't stop with the vehemently anti-environmental Chamber of Commerce either. The Energy Stewardship Alliance, the Independent Women's Forum, Americans for Prosperity Foundation, the Statistical Assessment Service, and countless other deceptively named corporate muscle front groups can now spend their members and clients large sums of money for any candidate they see fit. Of course, those candidates that they see fit will be the ones opposed to such pussy-ass liberal things like minimum wage, the 40-hour work week, FMLA, and holding corporations responsible when their products kill people. Not only that, more and more corporations are now becoming multinational. In fact, we have quite a few corporations operating in the United States whose unholy masters are in other countries like China, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and France. What is to keep foreign money from being funneled through their American subsidiary right into the pockets of Republicans for Clean Air? And to all you guns and ammo immigrant haters patrolling the Mexican border, got some bad news for you. Large corporations has a vested interest in low-wage labor. Let me say that again. Large corporations have a vested interest in low-wage labor. So until they can get the minimum wage dropped to $2.50 an hour, and you're forced to take a job that is beneath you for a slave wage, the illegal immigrants will keep coming. Now, to be fair, it's not just corporate front groups that can spend an unlimited amount of money on political speech. This ruling is an equal opportunity offender. Planned Parenthood, for example, an organization that I financially support, will be able to spend as much money as it wants promoting its pro-choice agenda. The problem is, of course, Planned Parenthood has very few corporate donors. Most of the donors are individuals or other pro-choice groups. So while Planned Parenthood can afford $100,000 for a primetime ad to run for 5 consecutive days, the American Petroleum Institute can spend $30 million on primetime ads that run an entire season, plus radio, print, online, and billboard advertising. Which leads to what is perhaps the single most ridiculous argument in favor of this ruling. It goes like this. Anyone, even private citizens, are already allowed to spend as much money as they want on political speech, so what's the problem? Well, I looked up some statistics on my own personal income. It turns out that I am in the 64th percentile when it comes to my income compared to other Americans. That means that I make more money than 63% of all other Americans. Not bad for a publicly educated blowhard whose most accomplished skill is off-color dick jokes. But even then, I personally control less than 1/1 billionth of 1% of all the money in America. So if we compare my spending power on political speech to the spending power of IBM, Microsoft, Google, or Philip Morris, it's the equivalent of me standing out in the parking lot of Madison Square Garden and shouting my opinion during a sold-out Rolling Stones concert. Who's going to hear me? No one inside is even going to know that I exist, and I'll spend most of my time shouting at a bunch of heavily armed car thieves. So what's the solution to all of this? Well, most solutions that I come up with involve firearms and explosives, but there may be a better way. There is now a proposed 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution. You can read it in its entirety at tinyurl 28th Amendment. This is a political action that I am going to fully support in word, deed, action, and money. So go ahead and call me every name in the book, unsub me, rate me down, or make your profanity-laced tirade of a response video. I really don't care. To liberal viewer, I've really liked your videos and will continue to do so. Your smackdowns on Fox News are second only to the great Coctopus. I'd like to note parenthetically that I had to do that little plug for Coctopus, so we will use my Fox News Demotivational poster in his next video, which you can see by looking at your screen or going to tinyurl JJ's Fox News poster. Unfortunately, liberal viewer, this is an issue on which you and I must agree to disagree. This is Jaguar Jones saying good day, and pangolins are totally gay.